Welcome to Relaxed Reddit Readings. Today we have 5 Reddit stories for you. Family drama, petty revenge, and Reddit's wildest AITA stories. Story 1. I kicked my fiance's toxic best friend out of our son's birthday party. Okay, so, my fiance and I have a 1-year-old son, and his birthday was this past Friday. We planned this whole little celebration, invited friends and family, the works. Now, there's this guy, let's call him Matthew. He is, or I guess was, my fiance's best friend. But here's the thing, this dude has hated me pretty much since day one of my relationship with my fiance, and he hasn't exactly been shy about it. Like, publicly shown it kind of hated me. Because of all that, and some other stuff that I won't even get into, my fiancé actually took a step back from their friendship. They haven't spoken in over a year. A full year of silence. So obviously, Matthew was not on the guest list for our son's birthday. This wasn't an oversight, this was intentional. But get this, Matthew still keeps in touch with some of our mutual friends, and one of them apparently thought it would be totally fine to invite him along. Like, just bring him as their +1 to a first birthday party for a kid whose dad hasn't spoken to this guy in a year. I don't know what that friend was thinking, honestly. So the day of the party comes, and I'm setting things up, greeting people, doing the whole host thing, and I see Matthew walk in. Just strolls in like it's nothing. And immediately my stomach just drops. My fiancé sees him too, and I can tell he's uncomfortable, but he's trying to keep the peace because it's supposed to be a happy day for our son. But I was not about to just let this slide. This is not some random hangout, this is our son's birthday, in our home, and this is a person who has been openly hostile to me for years. So I pulled the friend who brought him aside first, and I was like, hey, why would you bring him here? You know the history. And she kind of shrugged it off, like, oh, I didn't think it would be a big deal, he wanted to see the baby. And I'm just standing there thinking, this is not about seeing the baby, this is about boundaries that you completely ignored. So then I went and talked to Matthew directly. I was polite about it, at least at first. I said something like, hey, I appreciate you wanting to celebrate with us, but you weren't invited, and I think it's best if you head out. And he did not take that well. He started getting loud, saying I was being dramatic, that he's known my fiancé for way longer than I have, that this is basically still his family too. Which, okay, first of all, that ship kind of sailed when you spent years being nasty to me. And second of all, my fiancé is the one who stepped back from you, not the other way around. So at this point people are starting to notice, the vibe is getting tense, and I just very calmly said, look, this isn't up for debate, you need to leave. My fiancé backed me up, which I really appreciated, because I think a small part of me was worried he'd feel caught in the middle and try to smooth it over instead of actually addressing it. But he didn't. He told Matthew flat out that he wasn't invited and that showing up uninvited after a year of no contact was not okay. Matthew left, but not without making a scene on the way out, some comments about how we're both being petty and immature. A couple of the guests seemed a little uncomfortable after that, like the mood shifted for a bit, but honestly the party went on and it was fine. My son had a blast, he has no idea any drama even happened, thank God. But now I've got some family members saying I overreacted, that I could have just let him stay for a little while and avoid the confrontation, that it was a kid's birthday party and I made it about adult drama. And I'm sitting here thinking, no, he made it about drama the second he showed up somewhere he wasn't wanted. Was I wrong for removing him? If you're enjoying these stories, hit that like button and let me know in the comments which story you relate to the most. Story 2. I told my parents I'm done sacrificing myself for my failure of a brother. So I'm 28, female, and I have a brother, we'll call him Marcus, he's 32. Now Marcus has never had what you'd call a successful career as an adult. He's tried starting 2 different businesses, and both times our parents helped fund them, and both times they failed. Like, completely failed. And now, get this, he lives rent-free in a house that our parents own. Not just live there for a few months while he gets back on his feet, no, this has been going on for years at this point. Here's where it gets worse. My parents originally had plans for my brother and I to purchase that house together, like as an investment, split it 50-50, build equity, the whole responsible adult thing. But that plan just quietly got dropped. Nobody sat me down and explained why, it just sort of stopped being mentioned, and eventually I realized it was never happening. Meanwhile, growing up, I was the easy kid. Good grades, no drama, I didn't ask my parents for much of anything. I worked hard, I got myself through school, I built my own life without leaning on them financially. My brother, on the other hand, has been bailed out again and again and again. And I want to be clear, I don't hate my brother, I actually think part of this isn't even fully his fault, my parents enabled this pattern for years. But at some point, I started noticing that every single family conversation somehow circled back to Marcus. Marcus needs help with this. Marcus is struggling with that. Can you help your brother with this bill? Can you talk to him about that job opportunity? It was constant. And I started to feel like I was invisible unless I was useful for solving my brother's problems. So finally, a few weeks ago, my parents asked me if I could go halfway in on paying off some debt Marcus had accumulated, and something in me just snapped. Not like an angry outburst, more like this calm, exhausted realization that I was done. I told them no. I told them that I've spent my whole life being the responsible one, and every time it came to actually being rewarded or supported for that, somehow the plans just changed or got dropped, but every time Marcus needed bailing out, the money was there instantly. I said I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to keep choosing my brother's comfort over my own future. My mom started crying, saying I was being cold, that family helps family, that Marcus is going through a hard time and I have always been the strong one so surely I can handle a little more. My dad was quieter but he made this comment about how he thought I'd be more understanding given how much they've done for me growing up. And that one stung, honestly, because what exactly have they done for me that they haven't done tenfold for my brother? I told them straight up, I love Marcus, but I am not an ATM, and I am not going to keep sacrificing my own financial future to fund his mistakes while he faces basically zero consequences. I said if he wants help, he can get a second job, he can budget, he can do the things I've had to do my entire adult life. Since that conversation, things have been tense. My mom barely texts me now, my dad's been distant, and Marcus apparently thinks I'm being dramatic and selfish, that family should support each other no matter what. Some extended family members have heard about it too and a couple of them think I'm being harsh, that Marcus needs help right now and I make good money so what's the big deal? But I keep thinking, why is it always my problem to fix? So, am I the jerk here for finally saying no? Story 3. I asked a house full of teenagers for 10 minutes of quiet so my kid could sleep. Okay, so we are currently on this huge family vacation. Like a big one, there's about 14 kids total ranging from 6 years old all the way up to 22. My son is 6, he's the youngest of the whole group. Now, my son goes to bed pretty early most nights, usually somewhere between 7:30 and 8:30, that's just his normal routine and honestly it's what keeps him from turning into an absolute menace the next day. Here's the problem though. When rooms got assigned for this trip, my husband, my son, and I ended up in the bedroom on the main floor that is directly next to the living room. And the living room, of course, is exactly where everyone wants to hang out at night, especially the teenagers. The house also has these tall ceilings and kind of an open layout, so sound just travels everywhere, there's basically no barrier at all. So every night, we're trying to get our 6-year-old to sleep while there's a group of teenagers just a few feet away laughing, talking loud, playing music, being teenagers. And I get it, they're on vacation too, they want to have fun, I'm not trying to ruin their trip. But my son cannot fall asleep with all that noise, and he ends up getting overtired and cranky, and then the next day is rough for everyone, including the adults who have to deal with a meltdown 6-year-old. So a few nights in, I finally went out to the living room around his bedtime and I asked the teens, super nicely, if they could just keep it down for like 10 minutes, just while my son was falling asleep, and then they could go right back to being as loud as they wanted. That's it. 10 minutes. Most of them were actually fine with it, they lowered their voices, no big deal. But a couple of the older teenagers, like the 17, 18-year-old range, got kind of annoyed. One of them made a comment like, "We're on vacation too, we shouldn't have to be quiet just because a little kid needs to sleep." And I tried to explain, again, calmly, that I wasn't asking them to be silent all night, just for a short window. But apparently that still wasn't well received, because later that evening my sister-in-law pulled me aside and said that some of the teens felt like I was being controlling and treating them like little kids by shushing them. And I was kind of stunned, because in my head, this was the most reasonable request in the world. I didn't yell, I did not lecture anyone, I just asked politely for 10 minutes of lower volume so a literal 6-year-old could fall asleep. Since then, it's honestly been a little tense. A few of the parents of the teenagers have sort of sided with their kids, saying that the room assignments were what they were and maybe we should have said something before the trip, or that my son could just wear headphones or something to drown out the noise. Which, sure, maybe that's a fair point about the room assignments, that part's on the family for planning, not really on the teenagers. But it still doesn't change the fact that in the moment, all I wanted was a short little pocket of quiet, not the whole night, not even close. My husband thinks I did nothing wrong, and honestly most of the family agrees the request was completely reasonable, but there's this handful of people making me feel like I made things awkward for the rest of the trip over something small. So, was 10 minutes of quiet really an unreasonable thing to ask for? Story 4. A stranger bet money she could get my number on a hiking trail, so I humiliated her. So I love hiking, this is not new to me, I've been doing it for years, and normally if someone stops me on a trail to ask a question, I am 100% happy to help, give directions, chat for a minute, whatever. I'm a friendly hiker, that's just who I am. But this one time, something happened that honestly still makes me laugh when I think about it. So I had just reached the summit point of this hike, and I'm walking around, catching my breath, taking in the view, when I hear this girl, she's with a whole group of friends, and they're all laughing about something, and she starts yelling to get my attention. Like, "Girl, hello, girl," that kind of thing. So I turn around, and I'm just waiting to hear what she wants. And she bursts out laughing, like actually can't even get her words out right away, and then she goes, "Hey, so we have a bet going on." And I'm standing there thinking, okay, where is this going? So apparently the bet was that she could get a stranger's phone number just by asking, like some kind of confidence dare among her friend group. And she looks at me, still laughing, clearly thinking this is going to be an easy win because I'm a woman hiking alone, and she goes, "Can I get your number, we have money on this." And I just looked at her for a second, let the awkward silence sit there a little bit, and then I said, "No, sorry, I don't really give my number to people who are laughing at me while asking for it." And her whole face just changed, like the smugness just evaporated instantly. Her friends started kind of laughing at her instead, and one of them said something like, "Oh my God," she said no, and started cracking up. And she got flustered, tried to backpedal a little, said something like, "Oh come on, it's just a joke, don't be so serious." But at that point I just smiled and said, "Yeah, I'm sure it's hilarious, good luck with your bet," and I turned around and kept walking. Later, one of her friends actually caught up with me for a second, not to get my number for the bet or anything, just to apologize, saying that her friend can be a bit much sometimes and that it wasn't meant to be rude. And I told her, honestly, it's fine, I just don't love being treated like a prop for someone else's dare, especially by a total stranger who was laughing in my face while doing it. I posted about this because a couple of people I told thought I was being rude for shutting her down instead of just laughing it off and saying no nicely. But I don't really think I was mean about it, I was just honest. If you're going to ask a stranger for something personal, maybe don't do it while cackling with your friends like it's some big joke at my expense. I don't think I owe anyone kindness or patience when they're already treating the interaction like a punchline before I've even responded. Some people online said I should have just brushed it off since it was harmless fun, but to me it didn't feel harmless. It felt like I was being used for entertainment, and I don't think I was obligated to play along just to make her look cooler in front of her friends. So, was I actually being rude here, or was that a completely fair response to being laughed at by a stranger? Story 5. My best friend gave me an ultimatum about my new boyfriend, so I ended the friendship. Okay, so a little background. I'm 22, male, I'm in my 5th and final year of college, and I live in this small, kind of isolated town where I don't have any family nearby. My best friend, let's call her Alexis, she's 23, lives about a 10-minute walk from me. We actually used to live together, that didn't really work out for various reasons, but after that we found this really good rhythm of hanging out once or twice a week, just the two of us, and it was great, honestly one of the best friendships I've had. But then, about 2 months ago, I started dating this guy, we'll call him Fred, he's 22 as well. He lives about 27 minutes away on his family's property, so it's not super close, but it's manageable. And over the past month and a half, naturally, since I'm in a new relationship and things are going really well, I've been spending more time with Fred. Which, I mean, that's just kind of normal when you start dating someone new, right? You want to spend time together, get to know each other, build something. It doesn't mean I dropped Alexis, I still made an effort to see her regularly, just maybe not as many days as before because my time is now split between 2 important relationships in my life instead of just one. But apparently, to Alexis, this was a huge problem. She started making comments here and there about how I never have time for her anymore, how our friendship used to be the priority and now it feels like an afterthought. And look, I tried to hear her out, I really did, I even adjusted my schedule a bit to make sure we still had our regular hangout days. But then things escalated. She sat me down, and I mean sat me down like this was a formal meeting, and she basically gave me an ultimatum. She said that either I needed to commit to a set number of days seeing her every single week, no exceptions, or she didn't think our friendship could continue the way it was. And on top of that, she brought up my living situation, saying that maybe I should reconsider moving closer to her instead of continuing to build my life around a relationship that's, in her words, still new and unproven. I was honestly floored. I told her that I care about our friendship a lot, and I'm willing to keep prioritizing time with her, but I am not going to participate in ultimatums about who gets how many days of my life, and I am absolutely not going to change my living arrangements to accommodate her comfort level with my relationship. That is not something a friend should be asking of another friend. She got really upset, said I was choosing a guy I've only been with for a couple months over a friendship that's lasted years, that I was being naive and that relationships like this don't last so I better not blow up my whole life for it. I told her that even if that were true, and I don't think it is, it still wasn't her decision to make for me, and that healthy friendships don't come with contracts and countdowns. Since then, things have been pretty much silent between us. She hasn't reached out, and honestly, I haven't either, because I don't know how to have a relationship with someone who thinks the solution to feeling less prioritized is control and demands instead of just talking like adults. Some mutual friends think I handled it fine, but a couple others think I should have compromised more since she's been my friend for so much longer than Fred has even been in the picture. So, was I wrong for refusing the ultimatum? If you enjoyed these stories, drop a comment telling me which one was your favorite. And if you want more relaxed Reddit readings, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, like, comment and subscribe for more relaxed Reddit readings.